Last week on the Al Nicoletti Show. Let's welcome him to the Al Nicoletti Show. Brent the man, what's happening?
I focus on the land that's inside the city and on the outskirts. When I first started this, I was doing the land in the middle of nowhere. That stuff works and you can get like 400% return on your money, but usually it's smaller deals.
Interesting.
The infill lots and the city stuff you're talking about, that's really the stuff to really build your bank account and get out of debt quick. Most banks will not lend on land. That's why there's so much creative financing.
This is why it really takes somebody like Brent to like be in this all the time to see these little things.
You want to go through Redfin and Zillow and see who's selling all the land around you. This is the last 7 days and 35 parcels of land have sold. This is a pretty high demand area and it's really easy to comp. Right now I'm focusing on less deals, higher profit ranges. I do a contract for deed and the deed does not transfer until they fully pay it off.
This is a great topic, especially if you want to pivot in this market.
I really don't change the zoning. I don't touch the land. I don't put culverts on it. I want to be in and out or buy it and seller finance it and let someone else put their dream on it.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for showing us just even the glimpse into your world.
Appreciate it, Al. It's been a good time.
I love watching the recaps the next week on the guest that was on the previous week because for me, this past couple of weeks, it's crazy that happened last week. And Brent laid out so many gems in the land industry when it comes to real estate. And if you missed any of that episode, you definitely want to go check that out. He did like a mini masterclass on how you can find more land deals in busy markets and even markets that people aren't really going after, but really how to strategize on the price point and how you can still get a deal even in a slower market. So if you missed any of that, go check that out. And for more content on tonight's episode, make sure you check out the Al Nicoletti YouTube channel, the Facebook personal page, the business page, and all the micro content that's dropping out on Instagram at Attorney Nicoletti. And you can find all the episodes from season 1, season 2, season 3, and season 4 on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play. And you know the show's live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, so you don't want to miss it. Tonight's episode is going to be fire. I can't even tell you how excited I am to have Tanya on the show. We are going to cover so many things on high performance and mindset and really the mentality you have to be at peak performance at all times. And I got to say, if you are tuning in right now, you want to stay all the way until the end because every time I hear her talk, it only gets better and it's only something that really can help everybody out there. And we're going to get into so much. So I'm so happy. I see everybody is already jumping out on. I love it. Teresa, Lisa. Oh, Lisa's watching too. Teresa and Lisa. I love this. And I just want to do a shout out to them. They had a land webinar. They had me on today and it was awesome. So I love the loyal fans that are out there watching the show. So, all right. Let's get going on this. Everybody, you have your pen, your paper. We got to take notes. We're all taking notes. I'm even taking notes. If you ever see me look down to the left, like I'm actually really taking notes because I love this stuff. I think all this stuff's fascinating. So take notes. We want to dive in. Ask your questions live because that's the best part. We're all interactive on the show. Ask it live, drop comments. I want to see who's out there. So without further ado, let's rock this thing. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida. Welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their community that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate and bringing on the best in the industry all around the country, in the real estate world, adjacent to real estate, bringing on people that are going to help us level up our business, level up so we can scale our business, so we can grow our business, so we can find a way that we can step out of the business, not be in the business, but step out of the business, bringing on people in all industries, land, commercial, Airbnb, productivity, and tonight's talking about high performance, being at peak performance at all times, having the mental strength, the mental acuity to push through things. This is the kind of stuff that we want on the Al Nicoletti Show, and especially for season 4, because we want to help you level up your business and keep it going. Okay, everybody. So I'm excited to have Tanya Oliver on the show tonight. She is unbelievably amazing. I can't say enough great things about her. It's crazy how we first met, and she's sitting there. She's going to remember this. When I first met Tanya, it was at Ricardo Rosales' Attend Growth back in June last year. And I remember it was at the VIP dinner. The whole place was packed, and I was sitting at one of the end tables, and we're all like late. And Tanya walks in like 30 minutes later, and she sits right next to me. I loved it. I loved the fact that she sat right next to me. It's almost like a magnet. Like she like saw a magnet. We're like magnets. And right after she sat down, we clicked. We connected on so many levels that I could just understand what she was talking about, what her industry was and is, and how she helps people, and just her energy. I just felt it. And when I got to know her more and learn more about what she does, it's very fascinating. It's so different that I wanted to learn more about, like, how did she even get into the real estate space doing what she does? She's not an investor. She's not a realtor. And it's quite interesting how she helps other high level, 7-figure earning, 8-figure earning investors and professionals in the industry level themselves up mentally, physically, internally, emotionally. And it's so powerful. And I love her. She's full of energy, and she has so much to talk about when it comes to this stuff. So we're going to talk about all these things, and I want to bring her on the show because she's ready to rock and roll. Without further ado, Tanya Oliver. Tanya, let's
Hi.
go.
Let's go. Let's grow. Thank you so much for having me on as your guest. You're just a light in the world, and I'm just so grateful to know you and to call you a friend. So thank you for having me.
I love that you're here, friend. I think this is amazing. We get to bring you on so you can shine and talk about your expertise in your professional world when it comes to helping people get at a high performance level, get to peak performance. And like I told everybody before, it's crazy because you're not an investor, but you help all these people level up their business. So let's dive into this. How did you get into the world you're in right now, but then also segue into the real estate world specifically?
Yeah, I always feel like sometimes you just know the next step, and then the next step leads to the next step. But I started off with being an athlete, and I always say, like in my book, I said like building the new, living life on purpose is really about, like, the entrepreneur space is, we're all athletes. And most of us, when I was speaking, I said, how many of you had played sports? Majority of the people, probably like 93% of the room, raised their hand. And the other 7%, I said, well, how many of you wanted to play a sport, but you never had the opportunity? And that's where the other 7% like raise their hand. And so entrepreneur really is a sport, and you guys just happen to choose the sport of real estate. I chose the sport of personal growth and development and human performance. And so I've just grew up playing sports. I actually started off working with pro athletes, MMA fighters, hockey players, um, football players, you name it. And I realized that I wasn't like super, mm, I loved it. But when I started working with like CEOs, I really lit up because I saw how it impacted their family dynamics. It impacted their relationships. It impacted them generating in more income. And I was like, well, I'm in the entrepreneur space now. I'm not really playing sport, but I was like, kind of see this as like a sport. So there's multiple stories to this, but that was always like my passion with it, as far as like looking at entrepreneurship and thinking about like, oh, performance, this is literally a game. This is like the game of our careers.
Yeah, and we'll definitely segue into that, like what high
Mhm.
performance is, and dive into that. But fascinating how I think you talked about it, hockey at Attend Growth. You talked about how you were into that, and it's a professional world that you were in sports. And then how did you find your way into this real estate world?
Oh, into real estate, word spread. People were like, hey, I know Tina. Actually, it started from working with the pro athletes. And one of the guys was one of my friends, and he was working with another high-end entrepreneur who owns a plane, and I don't say names because that's not, I keep all my clients confidential. He became a client, raving fan, the amount of impact of like healthy speed, how quickly he transformed, and then shared it with his other entrepreneur friends who were in the real estate. So then I started working with people that host large events, and then you get in and you do such a great job, and then everybody's like, what are you doing? Kind of like, you like, oh my gosh, Al, like you look amazing. Like, what are you doing? And people will ask you when they see that you're on the other side. And typically there's like that something or someone that's been like your secret weapon. And so I just happen to be the person behind. I have some clients who are like, you're like that girl from Billions. It's like, sure.
That's what I said to you the other day. Yeah, Tanya reminds me of the girl that's in Billions. That's kind of the one that all the employees go to talk about how they're doing in their life, their business, and she has that aura about her. And I don't know, that came off my mind when we were talking. But yeah, you come across as that high performance coach, that
Yeah.
guide to drawing out what the negatives are, right? What the issues are, and then reframing it so that you can help them go back onto their journey with a more positive mindset. So,
Well, kind of.
right, it comes down to whether they want to do that, right?
It comes down to the power of taking personal responsibility and the willingness to, I always feel like you need a lineup. I'm just somebody in somebody's lineup. I have my own lineup of people that when I feel weak, they remind me of my strength and they give me tools. So really is like, we need tools when external chaos happens, internal chaos happens, and we forget our power. We forget how powerful we are. We forget how capable we are. We forget how strong we are, especially when we move together as a unit.
Yeah. And when you were at Attend Growth, one of the first things that you talked about is being a core principle to being able to level up and to take the first step. And you talked about everything comes down to a decision and taking ownership of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first step to going on the right path or moving in the right direction that you need to move is making that decision. So talk to us about what's that vision? What does that look like? And how do you see that play out with people?
Yeah. Are you ready for your mind to be blown right now?
Yes, we all are.
Are
We're
you
all
guys
ready.
ready? Okay, so I love, and this actually blows a lot of people away because they're like, but I work with a coach and I spend this all day. That's amazing. So, but they're like, I can't figure this one piece out. I was like, okay, well, our undesired experiences, because when we label things as good or bad, it attaches criticism and judgment. So when things are good, they're good, but when they're bad, then like the guilt, the shame, the judgment, and that actually really weighs, that anchors us down. So we want to say like our undesired experiences are what actually bring us clarity when we lean into them. So we want to utilize all of the undesired, even parts of our personality trait, and we befriend it. And we use it as so we can have clarity. The biggest issue I see is a lot of people are not clear on who they are, who they want to be, and where they want to go, and what they have to overcome in order to become that person that they're striving to build, the life that they're striving to build. That's why my book is called Building the New. And so you have to utilize the undesired for clarity. And a lot of people don't go back to the things because maybe of pain, or they don't feel strong enough to look at the undesired stuff. But that stuff is actually a blessing, because if you look at it properly, you can utilize it for clarity. And that clarity is going to give you certainty on like, okay, here's where I want to go. This is exactly where I want to go. And now all I have to do is just reverse engineer it.
Yeah. And you have to have the clarity, right? So how do you get to that clarity point though? Like does it take time? Is it certain things that that person's doing? Because you can't just snap the fingers and then all of a sudden they become clear.
Yeah.
What are some of those internal steps that they need to take to have that clarity? Because once you have that clarity, like you've talked about, then
Yeah.
they move on.
So I do an exercise called the introduction. I do it on myself like once or twice a year. I do it with my clients in my mastermind. Hold on, let me grab this. Let me show you. I like visuals.
Okay, visuals are good.
Okay, so I have my life wheel. All right, Wheel of Fortune. All right.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm like, hey guys, here's our life wheel. So if we subcategorize our life into like 10 categories, where we have like romance, health, contribution to society, fun, materialistic, family, friends, career, personal, spiritual growth, our home, money, mental, physical, emotional health, it's easier to look at it and, like I said, utilizing the things that are the undesired, rating it 1 through 10 on your level of fulfillment, because happiness is a byproduct of fulfillment. And people like typically like, I just want to be happy. Well, if we I like to take conceptual things and make them very practical and then break them down and have people really audit their life. So this is a way where we audit the life, and from there, like I said, we say, okay, what is my belief in my relationship around each category? What do I believe about this? And do I have an undesired relationship or a desired relationship around this area? And if it were to be a 10, what would that look like? So we utilize the undesired and we shape shift. We call it shape shifting, of like what would be the complete opposite of that. And then finding people, places, and things that might be able to give somebody a clearer vision. We talk about clarity, a clearer vision of what that might be like. And then from there, every single day, we're introducing and reminding ourselves of our higher self, of operating from higher levels of consciousness. And something I read in The Science of Getting Rich, it says, regardless of the appearances going on, so maybe you have like a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, hold tight to the truth. Hold tight to the truth. And every single day, remind yourself of your introduction. Does that make sense?
It
It's
does.
introduction. But we have to get clear. Our beliefs can only change when we really look at our relationship around them and get clear on, well, if beliefs are something that have just been conditioned based on experiences over and over and over again, then that means if I take personal responsibility, that shifts somebody from victim consciousness to winner consciousness. If I take personal responsibility, I don't know how I created this, but I know that I was an active participant in this circumstance or situation. Therefore, I can change my mind. That allows people to take back their personal power when they're deciding to build the new or create the new in whatever category of their overly full life box that they're trying to create.
Yeah, and I can imagine how many people may have their business together, may have their health together, but they don't, their relationships in family or and maybe loved ones is holding them back, right? Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's health that's holding them back, and they need to get clarity on the next direction there. Or maybe it's their business, right?
Yeah.
And you've kind of talked about that several times, about being stuck in those
Yeah.
positions. Yeah, stuck AF. That's how she puts it. And I feel like that goes hand in hand with clarity, right? The fact that they're stuck. So in order to get unstuck, they have to find that clarity and find that vision for themselves.
It doesn't always come from clarity. It can be from two levels of two reasons why we say stuck AF is through resistance and attachment. Remember those slides I showed? So for you guys that weren't there, I was there. You got the like front row. Resistance and attachment are two core reasons from my discovery as why we stay stuck. And resistance is I know what to do, but I just don't do it, right? So how many of you have said that? I know what to do. I know I need to get in shape, but I just don't do it, like, because it's we prioritize what we value. And what I realize in the entrepreneur space is even if they're making 7, 8, 9-figure plus, they majority of entrepreneurs at those high levels put themselves on the back burner. So maybe their career and finances are like at a 10, but their health is at a 2. Their mental health. They wake up every day with anxiety or depression, or they're popping pills, or they're doing, and I know this is going to, some people laugh at it, but they do a bump, or they're going to the strip club, or they're not handling their pain. And so they're not prioritizing their self. And if you understand, I'm a human being before I'm a machine, before I'm a business, before I'm an athlete, before I play in a sport. And you have to you have to get clear on what you value. And if you don't value yourself, you're not going to prioritize yourself. And then the attachment is, even though I'm in pain, I need this, Al. I need this to help me get through the pain because I don't feel strong enough to do it on my own. I don't feel capable, and I have all these people counting on me. I have all these people. Maybe you're in charge of like hundreds of people, and you feel like you don't have time to process what you have to process, or you don't have the tools. Your only tool is substances. Your only tool is shutting it down and shutting it up. So attachment is more of, I need this in order to give me relief because I don't know how else I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and you talked about playing the short game and playing the long game with attachment, right? What that looks like, and I know you had the formula to that. But when it came to resistance, one thing that you covered too was the concept of having that self-care for someone, right? Having self-care and being able to recharge so that they can get to a high level of performance, right? So maybe whoever it is managing a team of 15 people. Maybe they're managing a team of 100 people, or maybe it's just they got themselves and then their lives around them. But making sure that self-care plays a role so that they can operate. And I kind of talked about this too, at being at high performance. There is a desirability for an entrepreneur to be at a high energy, high motor, high performance level. I seek that all the time. I want to always be that way. And the only way you can do that is just, like you said, prioritize some of the other things that are around you so that when you do that, then you can be at that high performance. So talk to us a little bit about self-care and that importance.
My favorite quote is by Katie Reed, and it says, self-care is giving the world the best of us versus what's left of us. And so when we get clear that self-care isn't just about the body, and there's a difference between self-care and self-grooming. And self-grooming is more taking care of the external. Self-care is taking care of the internal. And nobody else, people can help you with the self-grooming. Like I get my hair done, I get my facials, like I got cupping done today and a chiropractor from the flying. It's a lot of compression on the spine. I was having like head compressions, but that's like self-grooming and also part of self-care because the adjustments, but which are things I can't do. But self-care is taking care of the mental, the physical, the emotional. I like to give my clients, and I use it for myself, is I say, look at it as like a light system. And frequency is felt. And one of my best friends, he is a body language expert, and he's saying 55% of communication is just from our body language is 55% of our communication. Our tonality is another, and only 7% is from our words. So energy is felt. Electromagnetic energy goes above and beyond. Like people, like you said, when you had done the intro, were magnets. And so you're going to magnetize. And you said something earlier about relationships. Our relationships, and I learned this in shadow work when I was like learning and studying shadow work, is learning about the lower frequencies of self. You know, we have dark, we have light, and those self-sabotage, those self-saboteurs. And everything in our life is a mirror, and it's an external expression of what we're internally suppressing. And when we see things that we don't like, it's typically things that we have shut down and shut up. And so when we think about and we start to respect and become emotionally available, everybody thinks like emotional availability is like a curse, like it's going to block our blessings. It's one of the greatest things you can establish because it leads to, all right, so if I'm emotionally available, I can learn to manage my emotions, which leads to a strong, keen sense of emotional intelligence and self-mastery. And so if you look at it, like it's a simple tool to do is to look at it as like a light system. Am I yellow lighting? Yellow lighting is like, we talked about, we're like traveling so much. And I'm like, oh, I had to take a time out. I had to get my home in order. I went to the chiropractor and I didn't start until around like 1:00 today because I had to get my external environment in together so I could be mentally sharp and clear to perform. Our external environment is a direct reflection of our internal environment. And because of the traveling, it got a little messy. So I called in help. Patty, help me. She helps me with my home, like, help me for like 911, help me. And yeah, that's to say, like, who's your lineup? Who's your lineup? Call on help if you're overwhelmed and you got to take care of yourself. So am I yellow lighting? Yellow lighting is I'm not operating at peak performance, and then I need to pull back so I can scale forward. And I think about performance as like a slingshot. You have to pull back. So it might feel like you're going backwards, but by the time you let go, you're just going to like full speed past everybody. So you look at it as a red, yellow, and a green. Green is you're thriving, like you're operating at a 10. Yellow is like, I'm a little bit off, like I can still push through, but I'm not operating at super high frequencies. And red is it's already too late. Something that I feel like we all can be honest about and be like, oh my gosh, yes, I get it, is when you push through, you're either going to get sick, you're going to get injured, and you're going to get burnt out. So if you don't listen to the yellow light signals and become emotionally available to it and listen to your feelings are literally your guidance system, and listen to those things and learn about self-mastery of what do I have to do to get me back in the green, then you can prevent so many things. And if you get to the red, you're already going to be out like 3 to 10 times longer than if you would have just took a half day or a day or 2 days to do what you had to do to get yourself back in the game.
Yeah, and I can relate to the whole travel thing because just coming back from Houston, there's been so many different things that have happened in like the span of 3 days that it was almost like my brain went into this other drive of I had to prioritize, like do like ultimate priority of a list. And also it was almost like my brain focused and said, we got to do like super time blocking and say, you got to do this now and prioritize this now so that later you can keep functioning and that you're not worried and getting compressed with the stuff that you still have to worry about. So I feel like I understand a lot of what you're talking about in terms of the mental state of mind and when that shifts, right? Like you're talking about when you come back and things are all over the place. I totally relate to that. Yeah, I totally relate to that. I like literally throw everything in one room so everything looks good. Like, when your rooms are clean and organized, that your mind's thinking clearer too. So
yeah, and it's your home is your energy. Your home is the very first part of your safety, security, and stability. And so, and it's called Feng Shui. So, I mean, if you're really going to operate at high levels of and peak performance, that includes mental, physical, emotional, and energetically, how we're feeling, whether we're going to pay attention or not. Like you said, pay attention, take responsibility. Like this is off. It actually takes away your personal power. When I started learning like these type of things take away and drain me, like radioactive decay, even being around our electronics for too long creates radioactive decay. And then when we spend time with nature, like I live in Miami, I get to the beach, I do walking meditations minimum once a week. It's a non-negotiable. That helps. That's electromagnetic energy that charges. Even the feet are called the soul. SOLE connects you to the soul. SUL.
So it starts with home, right? It starts with home, having good energy there. And for a lot of people that are wondering, they're like, wait, Al's not having anybody on talking about real estate. You know what? Here's the thing. You can't scale your business and grow it to another level until all these other things are organized and figured out, right? And I've talked about that. See, a lot of people are like, well, where's the Airbnb? Where's the land? Look, you can do all these different industries. You can talk about all these different things. At the end of the day, there's no business without you. And what Tanya is really covering is the first steps to recognizing that you have to focus on you first, and then finding out the things that hold you back. Find out the things that are going to keep you from taking yourself to another level, right? What do we talk about in the opening of the show? How do you take your business to the next level? It's not just about making $100,000 on an assignment fee. It's about doing that 80 times, but you did that because you had all these other things in order, right? So when Tanya's talking about this, it's relevant to how you can focus and perform at another level you've never have before. And I understand that.
Yeah.
So, you know
we
what
were
I mean?
talking about that because I was like, well, think about it. Like you allowed And we allow it. We allow things like this is what I said in the speech. And I love saying this because it hits people. When I heard it, it hit me. Why? And I heard it in yoga, and a yoga practice, my yoga teacher. Yoga just means a union with your higher self, higher levels of consciousness. It says, why wait for bad things to happen to you in order to do something good for yourself? And for so long, we're saying, I'm going to blank when I blank. And if you learn about the energy systems, that's part of the power of free will, where we think like when we make more money, we think that we get to the next level of business, then we'll take care of ourselves, or we'll have more time. But that never happens. We can become addicted and attached to operating in a stressful state of energy. And if you understand about energy, when you're in a negative state of energy or in a beta energy, which is a low energy, like that survival mode, like we get attached because we're addicted because you're like, that's how I drive. It's like the hustle mode. And Mitzi was saying, it's not about the hustle, it's about the alignment. And big parts of creation and getting to the next level and receiving our blessings, or if you want to use the word manifestation, all that means is I take what I want and it now becomes my current reality. It's like my life. So that's really all that word means. It's really just like operating a calm state of energy. When we're in that energy, we're powerless and it destroys us. But Al, because we were talking about this like for, I don't know, you're like, I got to go, I got another call, but how you changed, like how you allowed your health to be on the back burner, not a priority for so long until you hit a really bad pain point. And then that pain point shifted. And the reason why we do this is we think it's going to take away from our work, that is going to take away from us making money. But in fact, you even said it on stage. You're like, I actually have more energy. So it's like that boomerang effect. And in the beginning, because you're transitioning, it might feel like you're going backwards, but you're going to bypass everybody, not comparing to people, because we're designed to create, not compete. But like you just freaking are now on high vibe mode.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. I know what you mean by pulling back the pull, right? So I felt like it was like a couple months in, I was like, wait a second, I feel more tired than I was when I was in April and March. Like I felt more drained. I was like, why? Right.
Mhm.
But then it finally hit a groove where I didn't feel that way anymore. Right. And then all of a sudden you stop doing what you're doing. And also you have like the whole ball of energy. So, you have to focus, and I talked about it. You have to focus on you and investing in what you're going through. And like you talked about, start with getting unstuck, right? For people that are stuck AF, you got to get
Well, getting clear if it's resistance where it's more of a value thing, like what do I value? Do I not value myself? And it's a lot easier said than done. It's a lot easier said than done. So if you guys are hearing this and you're like, oh man, I feel bad about myself, you make it sound so easy. It's a process. Everything's a process. And then the other is, or am I addicted to something? Addiction is just an attachment. And there's multiple levels of attachment. I've also worked in outpatient centers with Jason Williams and a few other people where they had pro athletes and stuff like that there here in Florida. And yeah, I mean, you have to just there's 3 steps to transformation. Hopefully I can share this and it will help you guys.
Yeah.
But like the 3 steps to any form of transformation in any area in your overly full life box is number 1 is self-honesty. You can't be self-aware if you're not honest. So self-honesty / self-awareness. I used to say self-awareness, but I'm like, wait a second. A lot of the times we're lying to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We're lying to ourselves because then we're judging ourselves. And that goes into number 2. So self-honesty / self-awareness. Number 2 is we have to become curious about it. It came from somewhere, some form of program that was taught. So it's a learned behavior. You guys have to remember your personality traits are learned behaviors. So if there are parts of your personality that are undesired and are blocking your blessings, you can shapeshift them through practice. Personality traits are not forever. It's a learned behavior. So become curious about it versus judging it. When you judge something, you shut it down. And there's no step 3. Step 3 is seek out solutions, get into masterminds, mentors. I don't like saying self-help, but like self-awareness stuff or personal growth and development, peak performance stuff. But I always say like you have to You have to take yourself out of a toxic ecosystem and create an enriched ecosystem. When you're weak, it's so critical to have an environment of other people where we can come together, just like how we met. We met in an ecosystem where there was a common focus, even though we didn't all do the same thing. And then we magnetized to the people of like, I love building strong relationships with conscious entrepreneurs like yourself. We're just like consciously awake and aware. So
Love
those
it.
are the 3 steps.
So self-honesty, you're curious about it.
So step 1 is like self-honesty / self-awareness. Step 2 is you're going to be curious about it versus judge it.
And number 3?
And number 3 is seek out solutions.
Seek out solutions.
So
Look
if
at
you
that.
can't figure it out, masterminds, inner circles, events, enriched ecosystems. Yeah, seek out solutions.
See, Tanya's providing you a blueprint to transformation, right?
I'm
Very
giving you guidelines. I'm not giving them the blueprint. I'm giving them guidelines.
okay. All right. So we'll talk about the guidelines. The blueprint you have to get with her about, but the
Yeah.
guidelines, at least it'll help. It'll help get people to a direction that they weren't in before. And transformation's a hard thing to do.
You
Yeah.
spent a whole year in the transformation of your body, which is a big part of like the mind, the emotions. There's such a roller coaster of things when we're working on our body, because our bodies are subconscious. We have cellular memory, cellular impressions within our body. And the body's like so powerful. So when you're in that form of transformation, there's so many things that go on, because you had a huge transformation. Congratulations too.
Thank you.
Your energy vibrates high, your vibe, you always had a great vibe. You always had a great smile, but it couldn't really seep through. You weren't truly giving us the best of Al until you started taking care of Al. And now you're capable of giving us the best. I actually had a conversation in a little mastermind group with somebody, and he was saying like he was just super generous. I don't not say any names, really super generous, bought everybody lunch. There was like 10 of us there, and it was not a cheap place. And I was like, yeah, like when I was on this climb, so and so was the only person that helped me, but people can't support me. And he was saying it like in a sad way. And I was like, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that it's people don't support you because they don't want to, or do you feel like people aren't capable of supporting you? Because sometimes if people aren't taking care of themselves, they're not capable of being in our lineup. They're not capable because they're not taking care of themselves. And that was a big part of like one of my stories of why I got into that, is to prevent people from like if you get knocked down, like you can get back up, but some people don't get back up.
Yeah, some people just struggle and they don't seek the help, right? That kind of goes to your transformation, seeking help, or they're not self-aware that they're still on the bottom. I would say that transformation comes down to choices, right? I feel like that's a big thing. You choose which way you want to go. You have a choice to keep staying the same, or you make the choice to do something different. But one thing that you talked about, which is you can have choices, but you need to execute and execution, the power of execution under all circumstances. Elaborate on this, because you can have all these different concepts and things, but you need to execute on them if you really truly want to make the change.
Yeah, I just wrote down because I'm always taking notes myself, because I have like so many things I want to share. But choices come down to decision. Decision comes down to a commitment. Actually, I have a commitment contract that I have for like people in my inner circle. Even for me, I was like, I want a commitment contract. Commitment contract is, if you look at the word commitment, I'm very big on looking up words. It means staying true to what you said you were going to do long after the emotional state you set it in has left you. So that means our emotions are unreliable. And I know it kind of can be like this duality of the mind, because when you're in the space of transformation, you're going to have a duality, kind of like the story of two wolves. Are you familiar with that story?
No.
Okay, so the story of two wolves is like this Cherokee Indian was like teaching his grandson about life. And he said, you know, grandson, there are two types of wolves in the world of how we operate. One is evil and resentful and rebellious and self-doubt and anger and jealousy and hatred and stepping on people and just listing all these like negative emotions or undesired emotions. And then he said, and then one is light and love and purity and caring and kindness and joy and peace. And he's talking about, and then every day there's a battle and every day they go at it. And he's like, and then you just stop. And he goes, well, which one won, Grandpa? And he's like, the wolf you feed. So I always say we're weak until we're strong. We're unhealthy until we're healthy. And every single day through the power of free will, if I only had blank, then I would blank. You flip that. You have to make a decision for your future. But every day you're going to have that duality of the mind. You're going to have the confliction of the mind where that future self, the self that you're working for and towards, is going to be very, very low spoken and weak. And then the other side is going to be like strong and be like, oh, you're tired. Oh, like you've got a lot on your plate. Oh, you don't have time for this. Oh, start tomorrow. Or, you know, like all those voices. And every single day, here you are, here you want to be. Every single day, we're either moving towards here in the space of becoming, or we're moving, our goals are moving back to where we are. And then 1 year goes by and you're like, nothing's changed.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's changed. You feel the same, maybe a little bit like externally, but like not much, not in your heart, not in your mind, not in your body. And like a year has gone by and nothing has changed. And so every day we have to make a conscious decision of like which voice is going to win. And that comes down to commitment. Commitment is staying true. I'm staying true to what I said I was going to do long after the emotion I set it in has left me. Period. And then I have like a commitment contract. I wrote out my goals. So my goals are like my internal GPS, like where do I want to go? I got really clear on the things that I didn't want to give me clarity on the things that I do want. How do I want to show up every day? I did out my introduction. Who am I becoming? What do I have to overcome? And who do I have to become her, to build her? And I remind myself every day of what I'm working towards. And it's like learning to play a new character until you become really good at that. And that becomes who you are. So yeah, it comes down to commitment.
Make a commitment to a new direction for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that also, I feel like with commitment comes accountability. I always
Mm-hmm.
feel like I hear the same word with
Yeah.
commitment. And I truly believe that the only person that can hold yourself accountable is yourself. And I mean, you have a support group around you. Well, I love to hear your take on this.
Mm-hmm.
You do have people around you that will point out things that may motivate you to hold yourself accountable, but ultimately there's nobody else that will.
I agree in the aspect where it's really relevant to learn self-accountability. I have something where self-sufficiency, self-efficiency is really important because the opposite is codependency. And I feel like how we can be time machines is establishing interdependency, where that's why like I'm very, very much about coaches. I have coaches, I'm in masterminds, I'm in inner circles. And when I go to events, I figure out how we can create our own little mastermind, our own little inner circle. And so accountability is critical. The best way I can describe accountability is like, you want to enrich your ecosystem, because in moments where maybe that other voice is really taking over and other people, like the right people that really do have your back, not those crabs in a bucket, but like the people that really have your back, they're going to remind you of what you're working towards in moments where your faith is wavering. And then also support and accountability. So I agree with you 100%, but I do feel that we do need interdependency. Interdependency. A lot of people don't know about that word.
And what is that? Elaborate on that.
So codependency is like, I need you as a coach or as a mentor or as a friend. I need you. That's the only way I'm going to get it done. Interdependency is like, you have your strengths, I have my strengths, and we support each other and we move as a unit. Elena Cardone said it beautifully. She talked about the story of the Clydesdales, where Clydesdale alone could pull, I think, like 8,000 units together. People would think 16, two Clydesdales side by side, but they ended up pulling like 32 units. And then like working together interdependently, they pulled like over 100,000 units or something like that. Don't quote me on the numbers, but it was like literally like 10x. It was 10x, like 3x the amount by just side by side. But then the other one was like working together. Like I hold my ground, you hold your ground, and like we move as a unit towards a common goal and mission.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So all these concepts play a role in yourself and I feel like it plays a role in self-awareness. And one thing that you mentioned to me, and I hope we can talk about this, there's just because there's so many different concepts that I know
Mm-hmm.
which is, what is the ostrich effect thing that you're talking about? Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I thought about that on the plane back from Atlanta to Miami, and I was like, what is the ostrich thing that Tanya's talking about?
Yeah.
Because with different people and what paths they go down, I feel like, I don't know how to describe it. It's probably I'm not gonna articulate it the best, but like,
Go ahead.
you see somebody that's stuck, and then you work on them with unstuck. And then you see somebody that's unstuck, and then you're like, okay, now this is your next direction, and this is where I see things. And I feel like you were talking to me about progress. Okay, fine, right.
Unstuck is progress, moving in a forward movement mindset, forward movement something. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was almost like you are just recognizing the next assignment. Like you're able to say, okay, this is next for you.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like a prescription. Like, this is next for you.
Yeah.
What in the world is the ostrich thing?
Okay, so the ostrich phase, I had to go through this myself. Sometimes you're not going to maybe have the funds to hire a coach or a mentor, and you're going to maybe you're coming from a space of partying or being in a toxic ecosystem, and you're going to have to disassociate from people, places, and things. And ostrich phase is an ostrich that digs his head inside the ground and just stays laser focused. And people aren't going to understand. And it's kind of almost like you fall off the face of the earth for a while, but you just get laser focused. And that's why I do feel like having support and coach and mentorship and joining a mastermind is so critical, because they help you focus depending on, how your level of strength. And when you're making changes, like I'll have clients that like are doing amazing, but one of the traits of an extremist personality, which are high-end achievers, overachievers, is also yo-yoing. And they'll be on and then they'll be off, and they'll be on. And that's part of the extremist personality. And it can be processed. There's something called process addiction, where it can process with one thing and then process into the next. And that's why a lot of entrepreneurs end up becoming workaholics and burnout and all these different traits. It comes down to a personality trait. There's no coincidence why people end up being at different levels and doing different things. It comes down to a personality trait. And so the ostrich phase is sometimes when you need to get laser focused, and you need to know that you're not strong enough to be in environments, and you can't control yourself. You just have to eliminate them altogether. So you just isolate and you go focused until maybe you can end up putting yourself back in those situations again, or those places. But for example, like when I was overcoming my addictions, I stopped going to the clubs, and I love dancing. And I stopped going to the clubs because the environment, I couldn't control myself. So I just didn't go. I just had to like stop going and go into ostrich phase until I started building myself up. I did a lot of this work. I had coaches, and I got super focused and got strong. And then now I can go out with friends and not even drink, and still hold my ground. And there was the best way, I think, as I heard somebody, I think I scrolled on TikTok somewhere or Instagram, and I saw this woman talking about how we can't really blossom in toxic soil. And in order for a flower to really blossom and bloom, it's nothing that the flower is doing or how you're watering it. It's about sometimes taking the flower and putting it in enriched soil. And sometimes we have to replant our flower and like have healthy soil, enrich it, and then wait for a timing of harvest. So I always say, like to say, like enriching my soil, enriching my ecosystem, but sometimes you're just going to have to put your head down and eliminate even family. I've had to do that.
Mm. I feel like you're almost saying like go on a hiatus,
Yeah.
right? Like for long extended periods of time to like,
Not long. I think we as much as you need to build your strength. But I think like when we say like long, it also will prevent us from putting 2 feet in. It'll be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And that's why people have a hard time committing, because they put time limits on it, or they put time frames, or they think they're going to take it forever, But if you just focus on the next step in front of you, even overcoming major attachments like addiction, they just say like, just win the day, win the
mm,
day.
love it. Tanya, another thing that we talked about, and we barely got into it, but I thought it was interesting.
We could do like a 5-hour conversation.
Oh yeah, no, believe you me, this can go hours. No, we'll make sure we cap it. Travel.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, and entrepreneurs do this, are traveling, whether it's local, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's flying across the country. As I talked about, I think travel as entrepreneurs is one of the hardest
Yeah.
things to break your routine into, right? And when you're home all the time, you have your nice routine, but as soon as you do travel, that's where things shift and you kind of go in. I don't know about everybody out there. I kind of go into a mode of like I'm trying to like imagine myself still at home in that routine wherever I'm going, or maybe that morphed over time.
Mhm.
It wasn't that way. I used to be the worst traveler. I used to be terrible at doing it. I've gotten a lot better. You should have seen me before April last year on traveling. I was just all over the board. But when we're traveling, we have to think about so many things, whether first our health, food, where we're going, who we're around. And you actually like talk about this in your mastermind, right? In your
Mhm.
in your program. Tell us about travel as an entrepreneur.
Well, first off, structure is what equals order. No structure equals chaos in the mind, in the body, with our habits, with our behaviors. So when you think about, I did a few like posts when I was traveling too, because I travel now and I speak and I'm getting back out there. And everywhere I go, there I am. So if I'm clear on how I want to show up, and I know that people are counting on me to perform, and I want to be an elite performer, and I know there's things that I need to work on, and I'm still practicing sharpening my skill sets, that I need to be on. And so I would recommend, number one, what I realize is most people don't even have a structure within them being in their own home environment. Like they don't have and if you see my calendar, I love that you're talking about time auditing and time blocking, because I block off from like 5 to 9 for my self-care. I block off, well, you're an exception for tonight, unless I'm going to go dancing, which I'm going to go. I was like, if I'm staying up late, then I'm just going to go dancing after this. But one time a week, I'll have a late night. And but typically electronics are off. There's a discipline and a respect. And somebody was talking about boundaries. You have to have boundaries with work, with your business. And I know everybody was going out like super late night, and the time changes, because there's also time changes. I was in Cali earlier in January, and then we were in Houston this past weekend, and one was a 1 hour, one was a 3 hour. So the biggest thing I would say, like even for my own personal success, is stick as much on routine as possible. And even in the mind has to shift that, focus on how you want to feel. and that will help. Like, that's a mindset reset. You got to have a few mindset resets to really help you like stay on course. And it's really just about how you want to show up and how you want to feel and how you want to perform. And yeah, I mean, you said this earlier, are you playing for the long game or the short game? Because when you get home, you're going to, even if you are being healthy, you get home, like for me, I'm like, my body hurts, I'm tired, like I'm bloated because of even eating healthy out. There's still inflammation in the food and the travel. You a lot of people don't know this, but when you fly, your fat cells increase by 3%. So a lot of personal trainers won't do body fat pinching on you for like 3 days until you're like your cells like calm down with inflammation. So there's a lot of stress just on the body of traveling too. So I would say the biggest thing is get on a routine and stick to routine as much as possible. Be prepared, plan things out, like see what you can work out, find a buddy, see if other people are more of a conscious entrepreneur, or they're on a healthy lifestyle journey if it's their journey, and latch up with them. There are people out there that are trying to make conscious, healthier decisions, and you want to link up with those people. Like I said, the ecosystem, the environment. So there's a few things. I wrote like a whole like ebook on it. It's like 15 pages, but I think the biggest thing is, number one, you need to establish routine and structure and stick as much to it as possible, even when you're out. And maybe go out one night or whatever, but like, you don't need to go out the whole freaking time. People will see you tomorrow. Like, you don't have to disrespect your sleep. I think you guys are like, where's Tanya? We're supposed to have the dinner. Tanya was sleeping at 8 o'clock, which is 9 o'clock.
Hey, that's fine. There's some nights I'm like that
I
too.
was sleeping every night on time, So keep routine as much as possible. And if you don't have a routine, establish a routine with even before you're traveling.
Yeah, it's funny. Junior, I don't know if you're watching. Junior said, "Good seeing you both this past weekend."
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
man, I loved it. He was front row when I was speaking. I mean, it was awesome. But Junior, we all went to dinner that night on Saturday, and I was so tired from that whole day on Saturday. I don't know what. I think it was just everything just caught up to me. I felt I just was done. I didn't want to do
Yeah.
one more reel, one more photo. And I had to make a decision. Do I go to dinner and just, after that, I'm good, or stay out all night until 5:30 in the morning? And it wasn't, it was when you travel, it's easy to make those decisions to say, screw it. I'm just going to stay up late and go out. But the problem is then that spirals into the next day. And the next day is when you truly want to catch up on work before Monday. And then Monday, it ends up being chaos, like what happened. On Monday, everybody and their great grandmother got in touch with me. And it was like, if I had gone out on Saturday at 5:30, I wouldn't have been in the right frame of mind for Monday. And it's those conscious decisions that happen in travel. Because before, a year ago, I would have been out till 5:30. I would have said, screw it, let's go. But like you said, for you were in bed at 8, right? So when you travel, I love this topic that you have with this ebook. Like, I need to see this.
I'm going to send it to you. I'm sending it to everybody, like slowly dripping it out like this week. But what you're saying too is it's really about consequences. Patterns and things come down to like decisions. Consequences just, when I do this, it's going to have an outcome. So what you just said is you're actually premeditating how you want to show up for your future. Your future is tomorrow. So I know if I make this decision, this is going to be the outcome. And like I said, it doesn't have to be like every day is so routine. Like, I have my clients actually build out 2 productivity schedules. So they have more, because you don't want to have like something so strict, especially when you have a very extreme personality. We want stimulation. That's what we love about entrepreneurship, is like you don't ever really know how it's going to go. It's like it's a game. So everything's going to have a consequence. The consequence is either desired or undesired. And so you have to just say like, okay, I can do whatever I want. I call it the permission statement. It helps tremendously. It helped me overcome my food addiction and alcohol addiction, and say, I can have and do whatever I want. How do I choose to feel? So that's where it comes down to a consequence, is like, the consequence is either desired or undesired. And I've already taken this path like 1,000 times and never, ever was happy about it. But I could take this path and let me see how it goes. Let me try it. I say, let me try it. And if it doesn't work out, then I can go back to my other one that wasn't desired anyway. So I still win.
Yeah, it is. It is the desire to do what you need to do to make sure that you are going again to perform at a high level later too, right? Like I wanted to make sure when I got back to the emails and I got back to the work that I was going to be able to then get to the priority things that I needed to, so I
Yeah.
wasn't behind.
And even
So
when you go out late at night, you're going to eat because then you're going to get hungry. You know, that's the one thing is like if I just go and I go dancing for my late nights, I have like 1, maybe 2 late nights a week. Because when the body recovers is from 10 to 2. The body recovers and repairs itself on a cellular level, like from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. It's when the magic happens with the body. So we're thinking about like the aging process. Like, yeah, we can get away with it from like 20s, 30s. But once you have 40s, 50s, like it's going to hit you really hard. You're going to be aging really fast. And when you go out late, you're going to be eating late at night and then you have a drink and then you want to sleep. And it's just like a downward spiral, like you said. So I just think it's never worth it.
yeah. And another thing that comes up, I mean, you can talk about health as well because health is a huge thing that
Mhm.
people don't take care of enough
Mhm.
in their business and in their life. But
Which part? Mental, physical, emotional?
the internal, the physical, the
Yeah.
mental, all of it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because I think physical, I think outer appearances, right?
Mhm.
Or even just maybe physical being inner, some stuff inner, but the mental and the internal. It was funny when we were talking about the internal. It was like it came out. It's like there's another side to how people perceive and interact that seems to be through the internal. If you want to talk about that, that could be a three.
So, yeah, I mean, intrinsic goals, extrinsic goals. I mean, if you look, like I said, always looking up words, word health encompasses the wholeness of self. So you can't be mentally operating at peak performance and mentally healthy when you're physically at dis-ease. It's not like it doesn't exist. So I had a client one time ask me, he's like, Tanya, like if you're going to start in sequences because you have these spiritual gurus and they're like completely overweight and really unhealthy and like binge eating and this and that, I'm like, there's still going to be a chaos of the mind. Like their operation might be better than normal, but for them, and this is a honest, this is an honest conversation to have. Am I operating in my full potential? Am I living life as the highest expression of myself today? There's no way. If you're not I like to explain it like this, like I want to learn, I want to get on my own winning team in all segments of self. Like I need to become an asset to myself versus a liability. And if I'm physically unwell and like investing in all these mental audiobooks and personal growth and development, my body's off. Like today, like I worked yesterday and I had pain in my body from the traveling and the compression. And because I am so connected to my body, it was impacting my workout. And I was like, I need to stop what I'm doing and I need to go get adjusted because I know what I need. That's big parts of knowing thyself. I know what I need. And then I was able to get back into my workouts. And then once I did that, I took care of that aspect of the physical realm. Then I was able to get mentally sharp, focused. Energy was so much better, and just able to fully be here, for this. So you really do have to take care of all of it if you are going to be living in your full potential, not just the idea of it. And that's just an honest conversation you have to have with self.
Yeah, and about the internal, let me share this with you about
Oh,
the.
okay. Maybe did I answer your question or no?
No, you did. I think that because yeah, you got the physical, the mental, but with the internal, I feel like you can't get to the internal part until the other two are straight.
Well, when you say internal, are you talking about energy psychology?
Energy perception, not mental perception. Though I feel like it's yeah, it's got to be more energy. It
It's
has to,
energy, it's
yeah.
vibration, it's frequency, right?
Yeah. But I feel like you can't get to that true internal energy level until the other two are squared away. I feel like it's
Yeah. Yeah.
physical plus mental equals internal.
Yeah, so we were talking about this, and oh yeah, my client was asking me, he's like, well, what do you think comes first? Is it the spiritual and then the emotional and then the mental and physical? I was like, from my understanding and the line of work that I've done, and even testing it on myself, because I've been unhealthy, like in different areas at different times, the simplest way and the fastest way to get there, because I love healthy speed, and a lot of us entrepreneurs want to get the fast way possible, but we can't skip steps. It doesn't work like that. Is the physical. When we take care of the physicals, because when we take care of the physical, the point of exercise is it helps quiet the chaos of the mind. If you really understand the placement of exercise, it's to quiet the chaos of the mind. So when we take care of the body, it helps us, kind of like wild horses, pull back the mind, which helps us have a better understanding of our emotions. Our emotions, you know, when we, like I said, we have to be emotionally available in order to have emotional intelligence. So then we can like manage our emotions a lot better because our mind is clear. Remember, we talked about the 6 steps of the
Yep.
FIT mindset, and there's literally a sequence to it. I'll share in a second. And then we have the ability to tap into higher consciousness. So when you're talking about the internal, that is higher consciousness. It's operating from the highest expression of self.
And let's talk about the 6-step sequence. What does that look like?
Okay. So I learned this in yoga when I was healing from a car accident. I was going to yoga and I had recovered so quickly, like probably in less than 60 days. And it was bad. I was in ICU for 3 days. We're going through a big lawsuit. And the attorney was like, Tanya, we can't really get you any money because I'm going to get you some money, but like you recovered so fast and you have no medical bills on anything. I was like, I was going to yoga. And they're like, yeah, that doesn't really work in the legal field. So I was like, whatever, it's my body. So I'm going to put that over money or anything like that. And I'm going to support my body. But when I went through yoga, I had to go through teacher training. I was like, I have to understand what just happened and all these like miraculous experiences of what I just experienced. Like, I have to know, I have to understand this. And one of the parts in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, they say that there's a 6-step sequence. I mean, they don't call it the 6 steps of the FIT mindset. I just like to, talk to us like that, because that's really what happens is the effort. We get in a space where we're just like, effort. I'm not like, why am I working so hard for this? Is when we have physical dis-ease, it dulls our mind. So we can easily be a drifter and get distracted. So we become mentally dull. And when we're mentally dull, we begin to doubt ourselves. We doubt our ability to, like, can I even achieve what I want? Like, is this even like something that I can do? Like, we doubt it. And then when we're doubting ourselves, we become careless. Like, well, if I'm not certain I can do it, then why would I like really put 2 feet in, right? 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Why would I put 2 feet in and go all in? And when you don't care about something, you become lazy, because why would you do something you don't care about? Nobody wants to do something, kind of like school. Like, if I don't understand how I'm using history or humanities, like, why am I going to fully pay attention? Like, where's its placement?
Mhm.
And then that leads to discouragement. Discouragement is one of the most dangerous emotional states to be in, because when we're discouraged, we say F it. And typically what happens is we crave stimulation. So this becomes a self-sabotaging cycle. We're playing for the short game, instant gratification. Like, oh, I'm feeling really low, I need a high. So I just say F it. Why would I stay here, focus, and do all these cold calls or go out here when I'm not certain it's going to generate me in a 7-figure business, or maybe I'm not going to be hyper successful in it, or I'm not even going to be like a top tier entrepreneur.
Awesome. I think these are great. I love how you break it down, and we talked about that, like 6
Mhm.
steps, 2 steps, core concepts to each thing that
Yeah.
can help level you up. And like you're talking about, when it comes to transformation, when it comes to being in stuck AF and getting unstuck, and the
Yeah.
core things that will help everybody out there. And I think it's great. I just want to make sure I don't want to forget anybody here. So Teresa, I love the fact that She said this in the beginning, but we were just flying through the opening. Al, left my coaching call with Grant Cardone early to be here. You were on my calendar first. Love it. We beat out Grant Cardone. How do you like that, Mike? I like that a lot. And Lisa's here. And Ruth, self-care and boundaries are vital for success. Ruth, I love it. She's always she always has this aura of making sure she's doing what she needs to do. And Ruth, I think that's great. And Junior, I hope Junior's still there. Teresa said, this is perfect. I just had a crying moment today, being grateful that I am out of the red light after being there for so many years. So grateful that I can work into getting to the green light now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, love it.
Michael said Grant Hill.
Yeah,
It's
Mike.
Al.
Yeah.
The Owl Show.
Mike wrote that. Teresa, you've got to peel the onion. That's awesome. And Ruth said, amazing. So many golden nuggets in tonight's podcast. Truly grateful to have invested my time to watch this. Thank you both for all that you do. Al, keep shining. So proud of you. Hey, wait. Hold on a second. This is about the guests, the epic guests that we have on, like Tanya. And then it's having the followers, fans, the fan base out there that's watching that makes this great. I'm just facilitating and hosting.
Yeah.
I
But
want
you
to make
bring people together. You need to have somebody to create the ecosystem. Without you, none of this would exist. So yeah, you're the spine.
I'm trying. It's crazy because where the show has actually morphed from when it started till today is just crazy. And then kind of the core concepts that we get into. So no, I'm happy you all are watching. I love it. And Angela, so great, such great content. I was so happy to reconnect with people at Rebar, and you love this, Tanya. They had me on a social media panel at Rebar, from Reels and stuff, and I'm talking about some of this stuff, and I loved reconnecting with Angela. She was sitting there, and I'm so happy everybody's watching. Tanya, I want to make sure people that are interested in this, that get more curious about this, because really we just scratched the surface. There's no way we can get into this without a 2-hour, 3-hour episode.
Yeah.
Where can people find your content? Where can they find the mastermind? Where can they dive deeper? Where can they find the courses? Because you have so much value and so much to unpack that we could never do that in a 1-hour episode.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why I have a whole year academy. I have an intensive mastermind elite, which we're actually starting February 25th. I'm offering free consult 30-minute calls. So if you guys want to hop on a call with me, it's just TanyaColiver.com/call. You can book a call. That starts February 25th. That's a 90-day intensive, but typically it's like a year academy. We have our team huddles every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's the Ultimate Achiever Academy Inner Circle, which I see the link here, but it also intertwines with TanyaColiver.com. And then the social platform that I'm on the most, and I do respond to every single one of my messages, is Instagram, and that's at Tanya C. Oliver.
Yeah, there's always that one social media platform that just really.
Yeah, I'm trying. Like, I saw there was TikTok. I'm like, oh, I haven't been on TikTok in like 3 weeks. Like, I need to get as cool as you and have like a team. So if I could just do my thing and have everybody highlight it and chop it up, like it'll be good. But like, you can't be great at everything. So
yeah,
I'm gonna stay in my lane.
I think having one channel, one platform is great, and then of course you have all your other content that's always dropping, right? You talk about the podcast that you have.
Yeah, so the podcast that I have, it's on Instagram, but we're also putting it like on all the other platforms. I have my girls do that. Don't ask me about back end stuff. When we got on the show, can we share like how hilarious what just happened? I was on mute, so we'll just leave it.
Oh no, backstage.
Yeah,
Oh,
backstage. We're trying to figure it out for 10 minutes, and I'm like, oh, is it on mute? Like, oh, yep, okay, mute. Whoops. So my girls do all the back end stuff, but as far as what was your question? It's like way past my bedtime right now.
No, your podcast, Mind Her Business.
Minding My Business is on Instagram, and it is a show for the ladies. To celebrate women. Our men are more than welcome to join. They love just listening and asking questions with high-end entrepreneur women, conscious entrepreneur women. And it's really to celebrate the woman and mental strength, mental resilience, what she does when she's yellow lighting, any words of wisdom of like building the new. And we just talk all about the resiliency and operating at high levels, and each like daily non-negotiables, morning, night routines, just seeing the patterns that success really does leave clues. And we're about, I think, almost 50 episodes in. So every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, we go live.
Check it out. You don't want to miss her. She is a ball of energy every time she gets on her episodes. So she loves it, and she brings on fascinating guests. You're gonna have Mitzi on, right?
I had Mitzi on Tuesday. I'm gonna have Annette from Wholesale Sharks on Tuesday.
Okay.
And I got Rola, who's like besties with Deepak Chopra, and Vishnu from Mind Valley. She's gonna be on the following. No, I don't know how. Emily was in a big real estate group. She's got like almost like 500,000 followers. Emily, I have to look at her last name. But I've got some powerhouse women on this show. I'm very grateful that they say yes. I think it's my enthusiasm and my persistency, and persistent. And yeah, I mean, you're going to receive value. So many diamonds are dropped. And I can say this, like anything that I deliver is going to be quality, and you're going to receive so much value in. And I can honestly say the same about you, Al. You know, like everything that you do it with really taking ownership and pride. So, you know, it's really admirable. And I'm very grateful to be friends and, you know, around people like yourself, where you have the same standards of excellence as me. So yeah, thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. It's about the people you hang around with and you surround yourself with, right? You want to be around people that are like-minded and have amazing energy and magnetism, right? So I feel like that's there with us, and that's the people we want to be around, that level us up, that have the positivity. You want to be around those kind of people that are movers and shakers, and making impacting people with purpose. So I feel that with you. I love what you're doing, and it's your energy. That's what's separating you out there. Being
high vibes. I would say it's the work behind the work. Like that's how I like to say it. People are like, oh, you're just always like that. No, there's work to get me to operate at this level every single day. Mental work, emotional work. Think of it as like a workout. Mental workouts, physical workouts, emotional workouts, and also my spiritual workouts. You know, like my meditation practice. Like there are things that are non-negotiable every day. And those 4 categories, that is the work behind me able to show up at all times under all circumstances in a consistent frequency.
I love it. And your sister's watching tonight. She goes, that's my sister. Deliverance is always 100. Love, love, love you, Power Queen. I love it. That's so nice. I love it. Family's watching. Tanya, it's been a blast. You know, we could go on for part 1, part 2, part 3. If I had it my way, well, and we weren't worried about analytics and what they were going to look like, we could go on for 5 hours. I want to make sure we wrap this up with final words, final thoughts. Anything, Tanya Oliver, with high performance, peak performance, execution, choices, the ostrich thing, anything that you want to end this with. Final words, final thoughts, Tanya Oliver.
Get clear on what you have to overcome and who you have to become to be that person, and just focus on executing that today.
Boom. That's simple. I love it. Short,
simple, not easy.
There's a lot more to that, but short and sweet to the point. I love it. Tanya, you're the best. I can't wait to see you again. And whether it's a conference, whether it's me being in Miami, who knows when I'll be down there. Yeah, the fun stuff down there.
Remember we started the group. One thing is like we execute right away. That's what I love about high end achievers is we're like, oh, we have an idea. Let's create it now. We are creating a conscious entrepreneur Facebook group for conscious entrepreneurs. If you feel like you are one and you are operating and taking care of yourself and you're more centered on that, then we're starting that up. And the goal is in July to have a live event to gather more conscious entrepreneurs that are really operating and striving to operate at really high frequency. So yeah. And you're going to be invited to the group tomorrow once I time audit it.
Let's do it. I'm in. You know that. I love it. Thank you for being on. Thank you for bringing your energy, your positivity, your knowledge, your professionalism, and yourself being so submersed in this world of high performance and helping so many professionals out there that really need this, that it doesn't matter if they're 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure. Thank you for doing this. And I can't wait to see you soon.
Yes, I'm sure I will see you soon. We're both going to be traveling and running into each other. But if not, you better come down to Miami.
You know, I'll be down there. I'll see you soon, Tanya.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Look, if you don't go check out Tanya Oliver's content, I don't know what to tell you. Her content is going to help take your business to the next level, right? What do I talk about when I do my intro, my whole thing that I just like run through in the beginning? I talk about we bring on people that are movers and shakers in our industry that help take your business to the next level. Not just about how do you do 5 flips a month or how do you make $100,000 in 30 days. We want to bring on people like Tanya that will help you see things differently, change the perception of where you're at, because maybe you're in a position that you don't want to be in anymore. Maybe you want to change and scale your business, but you feel like you're in a stuck position. This is the kind of stuff that she gets into. So you want to check out her content. We'll make sure Mike keeps putting it up of where to find all her content. But she brings so much value to the table. When I saw her speak at a 10 growth, you can just see that she scratched the surface. There's so much more to get into. So yeah, and also check out the Facebook group that she just talked about at the end, where people that are high level, high achievers can really get in there that really want to make a difference. So if you missed any of this episode, you must go back and start from the beginning. If you hopped in the middle, start in the beginning, watch it. Because there's so much to unpack, and Tanya's so good at breaking down things in 6 and 3s and understanding core concepts and definitions. I love that. She loves those definitions. She's great with those. So make sure you check that out. And for more content on tonight's episode, of course, make sure you check out the Al Nicoletti YouTube channel, the Facebook page, the personal page, the Instagram at Attorney Nicoletti, and all the guests that have been on the Al Nicoletti Show on season 1, season 2, season 3. And join us next Wednesday live. Yes, I'm crazy. We're still live. There's no stopping. I'll be traveling all around like a crazy person. And next week we have Nick on data mining and getting into all sorts of crazy things in leads and sources. You don't want to miss it. So thank you all so much. The fans, the followers out there, I always appreciate it. And I love having amazing guests like Tanya on. So we will see you all next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.